My son, like most kids, I'm sure, models the behavior he sees. And when it comes to me, who he's around a lot, probably no surprise, one of the things he models or is starting to do more of is ask a lot of questions and challenge things a lot, which in many ways makes me happy, makes me proud. It's one of my objectives in trying to raise him, is to make him think better and question and challenge, etc. Himself as well as others. But it's funny because at 6 years old, he does it in a very rudimentary way, right? We've talked in other videos about there's kind of levels to this. Naturally, he's at a very low level of it. And he'll do it on just kind of random, absurd things. So it's interesting, as an example, came up today, and it's almost, silly, but we had our landscapers were here. So there's a team of like 4 or 5 guys that mow the lawn and, hedge the bushes, all that stuff. So I don't even remember why, but he was talking to my wife, and he does this often. He'll use this questioning just to kind of be a pain in the ass, frankly. And somehow he got on the point that his grandfather, my dad, could be one of the landscapers. He could be out there right now doing the landscaping. And from where we were sitting in the house, we couldn't see all of the landscapers. And my wife naturally was like, he's not out there. Why would you think that? And my son's point was, well, he could be. It's possible, right? And you can almost see him using this as, we've talked about superpowers before, almost like a little bit of a weapon that he's using. And he kind of knew what he was doing. And he kind of went with it. Like, well, we don't know for sure. We didn't see him. And, my wife was trying to give, but he has a job already, and he's at work, and he's this or whatever. And it was all, valid points that reduced the probability that my dad was out there with the landscape crew mowing my lawn. But to my son's point, and that's kind of what he was fixated on, but it's still possible, right? And it made me start thinking, and my first reaction to it was just there's something wrong with what he's doing. I don't know if it's like a malicious, kind of dangerous thing. I don't know if it's just logically wrong, but something's wrong with it. And what I told him was, you have to be careful. Like, don't be certain in your uncertainty either, right? Don't just hunker down on that and say, well, it could be, it could be, even if it's true. Don't do that. And as I said it, I wasn't really sure what I meant by it, and again, what the issue was, but it just felt wrong to me. And I thought more about it, and in the world that we live today with fake news and all different sorts of headlines that contradict each other, and politicians, pitching conspiracy theories, and the president that we have, I think that was the trigger for me that made me think that something's wrong there, right? So you start to play that out and think deeper about it. And, there is this ability, it seems like, for people to weaponize uncertainty. We give certainty and confidence a hard time a lot, when I talk about this stuff, but uncertainty seems to have its own risks in it too, which you would expect really anything taken to an extreme becomes problematic. But you can weaponize that uncertainty. You could, much like a Donald Trump does or other people do, if there is something that happened, some event, you could just kind of drop, well, maybe this happened, right? A good one that comes to mind right away is the coronavirus situation, where, it's and maybe, who knows if it's true or not, but this is the point, that could be dropped in there that, well, it's possible China created this in a lab, and maybe they did it on purpose, and they were trying to, take down the economies or something like that, right? Or other conspiracies about it. There's some cabal that put this together and is using it to control the people. All those things could be true, right? And it's interesting when you think how that impacts people, that people hear stuff like that, and it ends up kind of destroying the whole system, because you've now poisoned everything, where nobody knows what's true anymore and what's false. So nothing means anything anymore. And it made me wonder, like, what is the psychology behind that? Because it's interesting. It seems somewhat contradictory in that we talk so much about the idea that our minds want a cohesive narrative. They want everything to make sense. We need an answer. And what this is doing is the flip of that. This is taking away from that. This is making it harder to find an answer. So why is it so powerful? Why is it so potent? Why does it impact people so much? It doesn't seem to make sense. So I'm still trying to think through, what it is that causes that, right? So if you think through it a little bit more, the obvious thing that comes to mind right away is people have some belief or view that they want to be true. And or other side of the same coin, there's something that they don't want to be true. And when you sow that doubt, when you introduce that uncertainty, when you say my grandpa could be out there landscaping, it opens the door to that. It gives our mind an out that says, oh, maybe the thing I actually want to be true or not true, maybe it still fits the narrative I want, and this allows me for that. It seems like there's some degree of that there, where it gets back to us using that in some way. It allows us to, if there's some identity issue there or whatever it might be, it allows us to keep that safe and protected. Would seem to be the case. It's still a little strange if you think about it, though, how powerful it is and how much it disrupts and how much it makes people question and not know what anything is anymore. And it almost devolves us down to where you stop listening to experts, you don't know what to trust, and you kind of just go with your gut or whatever it might be. So it really devolves us down to this bad place. So I was thinking about, what do you do without that? What do I teach my son, right? To kind of take it from that angle, because I think they're absolutely connected. What would I teach my son about this? Why is this a bad thing? Or what should he be doing differently? And the way I was thinking about it was, or what he might be missing in this is sticking with the grandpa mowing the lawn example. It's true. You are right. There is some probability that your grandfather's out there mowing the lawn, right? And trying to explain to him that there is a whole set or series of potential truths or outcomes or whatever it might be, right? That could happen. And in this case, it's, my dad could be out there mowing the lawn. Derek Jeter could be out there mowing the lawn. Some guy we don't know could be out there. Like, there's a whole bunch of people that could be out there mowing the lawn. It is true that it is kind of just a true or false thing that is true. Those things are all there. But the weighting in which all those things are probable or potentially could happen is different. And I think when uncertainty is weaponized intentionally, people will intentionally do this. When it's not intentional, when it's maybe, you're just at a level one questioning everything, you're not doing enough work to evaluate and weight, prioritize, whatever you want to call it, the potential of these outcomes, the probability of these outcomes. You're treating them in some extent all as equal, or maybe not all as equal, but you're overweighting some, underweighting others. And I think that's where the thinking and the analysis comes in, right? You have to take, well, my grandfather does have a job. I talked to him on the phone about 40 minutes ago, so that makes it seem unlikely. He's, getting up there in age, so he probably isn't out there mowing the lawn. That doesn't seem like something he would want to be doing. And you can kind of go down the list of things that say it brings the probability down of each one. And that's the thing you need to account for, right? If you're going to interject uncertainty, if you're going to sow some doubt, challenge, question something, you need to do it in a full and complete way, right? It's almost irresponsible or reckless, or worst case scenario, like intentionally malicious or manipulative, to just drop in something and not give the context, not do it in a complete way. So in this silly situation with my son and my wife, had he said, listen, I know it's unlikely for these reasons, but just technically it's possible that he could be out there, right? Just that caveat to it, that explaining of it, helps other people evaluate it and give it the proper weighting that it deserves. Because in a topic like this, my wife obviously understood, his grandfather wasn't out there. But when it's a more complex topic, when it's something like, where did the coronavirus start? Or what's the reason why the economy is in the shape it's in? Or how should we handle, an investigation of something that happened, maybe a police brutality type situation. When people just drop in things that could be true with no qualification, no evaluation, no weighting of the odds there or the probability of it. We've talked about this idea of showing your work. When they don't show their work on that uncertainty, it's detrimental. It does more harm than good. So I think the takeaway is, for those acting in good faith, right? The thing I want to teach my son to do is there's a responsibility behind questioning and introducing uncertainty. And you need to treat it as such. You need to make sure you approach it in a way that doesn't, make the situation worse, that doesn't stop you from getting to your objective, which oftentimes in these cases is objective truth. Your point isn't just to prove that uncertainty exists. That's a known, that's a given. Your point is try and get closer to objective truth. So you need to interject that in the right way, in the responsible way.